So welcome to the Natural Balance Masterclass. Annette, you've been here multiple times. Welcome. And Megan, this is your first time here. Welcome. And even if you've been here, and definitely if you're new, you're asking yourself the question, well, what is the Natural Balance Masterclass? Well, what the Natural Balance Masterclass is it's a ceremony to go inwards and nurture balance and cooperation inside of ourselves. And we do this with the intention of overflowing that balance and cooperation into the world all around us. And that naturally happens as we embody it inside of ourselves. It literally starts to overflow. And so Natural Balance Masterclass is an opportunity to show up for yourself fully and to be an active participant where you come here to nurture balance and cooperation. And that's what this masterclass is. Now, Natural Balance Movement is an entirely other thing that Balance Masterclass fits inside of. And Natural Balance Movement is it's a global movement that's heart-based, and it's your gift and it's your true self expressing into the world. It's natural balance coming through you as your sole purpose, as your divine mission here on earth. And it's your difference. It's the aspect of you that creates distinction from another person. And additionally, natural balance is what happens when you stop doing and you just start being done. And what are you stopping doing? You're stopping all your control mechanisms. You're stopping all your manipulation tactics. You're letting go of the majority of your perceptions. As you're moving, you're experiencing many shattered expectations. You release your attachment to outcome. So you're letting go. You're surrendering to all these things, and all this control, this manipulation, this attachment to outcome. All these things we've got to do to create that to be there, and that's great news, because if we do to create control, we can just release doing and allow acceptance to come from our being, because the only reason we're controlling is because we're resisting and not accepting what's here now. And so natural balance it's your difference coming through your heart, informing your mind, which can show up as words, then it can show up as emotion, it shows up as actions, and it's actions coming from God, from the true self, through your heart, through your vessel into form. We're the receiver. We're not the source. We tap into the source and then express the source through our listening. And the degree that we listen and take action from that listening is the degree that we embody natural balance. So that's natural balance, and you did it. You're here at the Natural Balance Masterclass. I don't know how you did it, but somehow you're here. Congratulations. So this evening, I'm in a space of an inquiry of how can I trust myself? And the myself I'm talking about is natural balance coming through me. So how can I trust when I tap into this God essence, when I listen, when I receive? But now that I've listened and received, it's time to take action. How can I trust that the action I'm taking is natural balance, or how do I discern if it's my ego and if it's my control and my manipulation tactics coming up? And so that's the inquiry I'm in, and I would love to hear some sharing. on the inquiry of discernment of how do I know if it's my ego, or how do I know if it's my soul purpose, natural balance expressing through me? So who'd like to go first?
Neal, how do we tell the difference between our ego and our natural balance? How sources coming through? Sources, we're not the receiver, sources, and we're tapping into that. What I'm learning and have been learning, and it's been frustrating. And I feel you feel that. I know it's the source when something is being done, or I'm trying to do it my way, how I've always done it, and it will not work. It
Yeah.
will not work. And my way seems a logical way, a sequence of things. And source, it's not necessarily done in the logical way. God makes no sense. So when something is being done that I want to do, immediately I know it's my ego. It makes no sense. That's what I'm learning. It doesn't make no sense.
So if it's something you don't want to do, then it's definitely God.
Oh, it gets done eventually. I let go. When I finally just so anxious, so stressful, so what the fuck, you know?
Yeah.
And this one thing, it could be one thing, it could be so simple. It could take 6 weeks before I get the lesson to do one simple thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know it's my ego, and I just think yes, it's going to be done like it's always been done. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
Just let it be. It's a new life. It's a new way. It's new, even though it's been at me for a while. It's to let go. Easier said than done. But I'm learning. It's not the thing you're doing or trying to achieve. It's not that thing. It's everything you're responding to or reacting to and defining the difference. Letting go of the manipulation, the control. God is not pointing at that thing you're trying to get done. It can be so simple.
Yeah.
You're feeling that, right? Yeah.
Yes. Is that complete, or is there more there?
I'm complete. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so I'm gonna move on and move on in transitioning from your share to I'm gonna share on how I've been distinguishing my ego, and then how I'm also distinguishing like God, source, my true self coming through me, and how the most valuable thing that I've found for this is to trust myself to get out of the way. Because I'm in the space where I don't trust my ego. I don't trust Neal. I don't trust in the actions Neal wants to take. I don't trust in the words that Neal speaks. And this is because what I'm referring to as Neal is this, I'm tying that to the egoic identity that is a made up creation that isn't who I am, but it's an aspect that sometimes attempts to express itself. And what I do trust is the true self, which I also call the higher self. And I also relate that as being synonymous with God. So I trust God. and I trust in God granting Neal capacity to trust in himself to get out of the way. So I don't trust Neal, but I trust in God, and I trust in God giving Neal capacity to trust in himself to get out of the way. And so this I've been tested on a lot over the last month. And first of all, it showed up like, all right, a decision's made, a line is drawn, there's options. I can either go somewhere or I can stay here. But I've got to make a decision. There's either one decision is going to keep me where I'm at, another decision is going to take me to a different location, but the outcome of either of those decisions, I don't know. I can speculate. I can know what the outcome is going to be right when I get to the location, but what the outcome is after I get there, I don't know. And so in that decision point, in the past, a month ago, I decided to do what I wanted in that moment. So I had a decision. I could accept what was presented, or I could see options. I could see another way and take another route of navigation. And this in this scenario that I'm describing, I chose to not accept what was. Actually, you know what? Now that I'm reflecting on it, I'm noticing I did accept it. So I did accept it, but I noticed that, oh, here's what it was. I just saw the thing. So I accepted the decision I made, but I did not accept the outcome were I to just accept not making a decision. See, I made a decision because of controlling the outcome, because I thought I wasn't okay if the outcome was one that I didn't choose. And this is the fucking trap. This is the thing where if I think I need to control the outcome, then this is the thing that's control, that's manipulation, that's where the ego comes online. That's where I have an expectation of something to come. And this going with my expectation of a future outcome and deciding to take action to produce that, what happened was I completely lost trust in myself, because the reflection that I received from other people was that I was acting from my ego. I was making decisions that were they were fear-based decisions. They weren't decisions made from love per se. And I didn't perceive any of this in the moment of deciding. I only saw it after I'd gone through the thing and was reflecting on the actions I'd taken. And that was extreme unbalance for Neal. I was unbalanced. Like, now I just acted from my ego. So like now I wasn't even trusting myself to like get out of the way, because I'm like, shit, I just did this thing and I didn't even see it. And so now I'm in this space of mistrust, which is started showing up in my conversations and interactions with other people. And it all was directly tied to my trust in myself, which was directly tied to my trust in God, because when I didn't accept the moment and the perfection of all things, I abandoned my trust in God. I abandoned my faith in God. And because of that, and as a byproduct of that, I abandoned my faith in Neal, and I abandoned my faith in God. But the faith abandoned in Neal was because of the faith abandoned in God. And so because of that, I made a decision from having abandoned the perfection of God's creation. And I began to notice in my life experienced something other than the perfection of God's creation, which was chaos and disharmony and fluctuations and what the fucks and all these things, confrontation, all these things were happening that like I created every single one of them. And I was looking around me and I'm like, why, what, who in their sane mind would create something like this? And then I remembered, oh, I'm actually insane. So that's, yes, a sane mind doesn't create this. An insane mind created this. You're welcome, Neal. I'm the orchestrator, and I orchestrated this extreme unbalance for myself to bring myself into a space of trust and faith in God and faith in myself and faith in my capacity to make decisions and follow through with them. Right now in this moment, I have more faith in God and in Neal and in Neal's capacity to get out of the way and allow God to express through him than I've ever had, ever in this physical life experience. And it stemmed and it the process really of trust really came home from this extreme unbalance of untrust. So that was the start, and then it's now moved into a completely space of trusting and faith even more than before the untrust began. And I thought I was in faith before, but I recognize now that I was in untrust, and all this situation just brought out the untrust that was already in me. And it wasn't like it was new, it was already there, and this was just the catalyst to bring it up for me to see it, to transcend it. And so we have things we can control, and we have things we can't control. Most of the time, if we're wanting to really like have it difficult, and if we're wanting to feel like small, and if we're wanting to feel like insignificant, and if we're wanting to feel weak, all we need to do is try to control everything we're not able to control. This would be things like people. This would be things like outcomes. This would be things like actually that's two of what I've got. So I've got people and I've got outcomes. What are some other things we're not able to control? Who wants to share? I got one more. God, we're not able to control. We sure want to.
The weather.
Weather, yes. Although there are organizations that are currently doing weather manipulation, HARP being one of them, and they are predicting. They know the action that they're going to take, so they know they have an expectation. If I do this, this is going to happen, and they can even predict the outcome. But what they're unable to predict is the outcome of the outcome. Once they've achieved what they've achieved, what's going to happen after that? And that's what they're unable to predict. And yeah, so that's for us too. See, certain outcomes we can control, but then are we to get there if we control the outcome? So let's say we do control it. We get all the way there, we reach it, and we're in the outcome. We're in the Ferrari. We have our partner next to us. We have like there's a trunk full of money. Like, this is so materialistic, but I'm going with it. So you did it. You received your outcome, and it's actually really great that it's materialistic, because it's great because I can use it to point towards where I'm going. And so you've got your Ferrari, you've got your partner next to you, you've got your money in the trunk. You did it. Like, holy shit. What's there to do now? Just live. But there's still this like void inside of you there. You're sitting in your car, like, you've got your physical body's happy, but like inside of you, there's something there. It's like there's more. It's like you need another car, or you need more money, or you need whatever the thing is. And my point is that if you control the outcome and you reach that outcome, the reason we want or choose anything is because of a feeling. So once we control our outcome and we attain it, we receive a feeling. But feelings are energy in motion, so that feeling also will pass. And because of that, when that feeling passes, we still got our car, we still got our partner, we still have the money, but the feeling's gone. So we're wondering, where's the feeling at? So then we need to do something else to get another feeling. But my point is, if you don't control the outcome and you accept it and you look from the lens of having perfection, so you're looking through the lens of perfection, seeing everything is perfect, and then seeing it as perfect, yes, but then also accepting the perfection of all things, because you can intellectually know that the perfection of all things, and you can resist it, but intellectually know it. And then you can also accept it and embody it and start to see it and experience it. And from this space, giving gratitude for what is, and then it doesn't matter the outcome, because you don't need to get somewhere. You already are somewhere in the place where you're at. You're accepting and you're grateful for where you're at. So from that space, what is there to do now? Because you're in acceptance, you're in gratitude, and you're experiencing the feelings that are associated with acceptance and gratitude. And then actions can be taken, but they're taken from a space of service to others and not from a space of service to self. And I think that is one of the key things, is that if I notice that I'm doing it to serve myself and to fulfill this physical body, or to fulfill significance, or to fulfill anything in this life with Neal, then that's a pretty key indicator of it being like ego-based, like Luciferic based, because we all have capacity to tap into these energies all the time, and these energies being Luciferic energy, being Jesus energy, being like different entity energy, being God energy. These energies are available all the time, and they are more available or less available depending on the degree of shit and the degree of cleanliness we have inside of ourselves. And the God energy is always available to the same degree, but when we have a lot of shit, it feels like maybe we don't have access to it, but that's just illusionary. And These other energies fluctuate, but the God energy, and when I say fluctuate, they fluctuate based on where we're at inside. Because if we are in our lower chakras, if we're experiencing a lot of trauma and lower emotions, lower plane entities can tap into that and play into that. So are we to transcend that and move up our chakra system and experience higher emotions and different thought patterns? Those lower entities don't have as much reach for us anymore. And this is where I'm saying the fluctuation is based on us cleaning ourselves up. The capacity of what has access to us fluctuates, but what doesn't fluctuate is God. Is the permeating energy through everything. Is the love, is the fascia, which is the connective tissue. And so that's the constant, and I trust in that. I have faith in that. I know that that energy is inside of me, and I know that that energy is inside of you, and I know that the communication that is being used to relay this message and to receive this message is that God energies in those devices that are being the space to communicate. And so there, I'd like to be with what we can't control just for a couple more minutes, see what comes up, and who would like to share? So we got people, we got God, we got weather. I think there was another one. That's what I got. Is there anything else present in the space?
I feel like we can't control anything. We think we do. I don't think we can control it.
Yeah. So this
I mean, that's
is
just what's coming to me. We think we can, but
all right. Make a case for it, Annette. Let me hear why we're not able to control anything. Once you're done talking, like I'm the dummy that thinks he can control everything. So once you're done, I'm gonna know that I'm the dummy, and I'm gonna know that I'm actually not able to control anything. So with that, go.
for what I've gone through in my life, I was the person. Um, I had the things. I didn't have a Ferrari, but I had the things. I did all the things you're supposed to do, and always wanting that next fix. And I thought the thing was missing was my own family. But it was God. It was this journey, this path I'm on, you know. And then all of a sudden, just all was taken away. You know, part of my story, you know. And once I committed, once I was try to fight it, you know, I couldn't control anything. I could not control anything, no matter what I did, no matter how I did it. It was all going away. I mean, everything. For what I happened to me. I mean, I learned I was not in control of anything. I don't know if God chooses those who are supposed to wake up. Because some do and many don't. They continue, you know, serving themselves. It's just serving man. But I think once God, and nothing special about it, it's just your turn. It's your turn on this planet to raise it up, to ascend. The new earth, new world, new heaven on earth. There's many names for it. It's a constant cycle. And when it's your turn, and you don't have control. God has control. And every time you think you have control, God's going to show you no. Your chose this journey, and you were a part of it. Up above, you were part of it before you came here. So, yeah, it's a dance with your ego and that higher self up there. But once he chooses you, it's done. It's finished. Until he gets you aligned, exactly situated, cleaned out, and in his glory, not your own. It's going to happen. One way or another, it's going to happen. My experience. Once God has chosen you, it's done. So control, we just think we have control by ego. There's no controlling anything. It's a divine plan. It's all been prearranged. It happens over and over and over, this cycle. And it's glorious. It is perfection. It is perfection because it gets people home. Everybody gets home eventually. Everybody gets home eventually. And we're part of that to lead others to that. And our difference, how we are, how Source guides you, leads you, teaches you, and all these experiences that we thought we had control, and he's showing you, no, you never did have control. You never did have control. Never did. It's all an illusion anyhow, right? How can we call it? Yeah. So not that you didn't go through the pain and the suffering and all of this. When you give up control to Source, that's when control comes through him to you, his way, in love. When the ego starts surfacing, it's a dance. It's part of the experience to feel those emotions. But when your desire to serve man, not yourself and your ego, and that desire, finally, it's there and you're committed. It happens when you just enjoy the moment you're in, no matter what it is. Even if you're thinking this is not an enjoyable moment, tap into your heart, breathe into your heart, and he will guide you. And he controls it. He always has. Controlling this whole scenario, this whole game, this whole dance. I don't know if it's very convincing, because I'm still learning. But it gets better and better. I'm so grateful I'm here right now, sharing this right now, because there's not a lot of people I can share it with at all. I just know I'm here now. That's all I really know. And it is perfection. And it is for the kingdom. It is for God. It is for love. It is for that entity. It is for that source of love. God was everything. Knowledge. He experienced himself and energy got manipulated, but God created all of it. And I'm still learning about it, but for anybody who thinks they're in control of something, through God, he can respond. He controls it when you make that decision. And he's He chooses. It's your turn. Yeah, I'm complete.
Okay. Thank you, Annette.
Thank
You're welcome. I'm gonna acknowledge you for you are the reason that this masterclass is created. And you what you just demonstrated was natural balance coming through you. Did it feel like you needed to work really hard to share when you just shared?
you.
Were you really like looking for an outcome or like really attached to something occurring?
No.
Well, what I just observed happening was you being done. You were just, all right, I'm just gonna set my ego to the side here and allow God to express through Annette as an expression of source, but with a Annette flavor, and it's coming through as natural balance through Annette's heart. And I acknowledge you for literally being the reason that this class is created. And it's created for people to express their natural balance. And I don't know what that looks like, but I can discern it. And the I that's discerning it is the I am, is the God coming through Neal. I can discern you expressing your true self, and but Neal can't. It's only the observer, God looking through Neal, can see that happening from another person. And if Neal tries to think about it and figure it out and say, all right, now that this, and this happened, obviously that's what's coming through. That's not it. So I can recognize it in you because I recognize it in myself, and I acknowledge you for it, and I acknowledge you for you've been showing up consistently, but what I've just witnessed is the I just witnessed God speaking through you, and I experienced you being natural balance. So congratulations, you're it. You're doing the thing, and the thing you're doing is being. You're doing being, and once you're being, you're doing from your being. So you're like talking, and it's like effortless because you're just being, but for some reason your mouth is moving. And what I would call that some reason is because that's what's being called for in the moment, and that's what God is asking to be expressed. And natural balance is what is naturally needed in the moment. It just comes out, and it's not something that you're like, ooh, I'm now in this moment, so because I'm in this moment, I remember that this thing's needed in this moment, so I'm so glad I got it with me, so now I'm going to get it out and use it. No, it's not that. It's just you're in the moment, and something's needed, and you're like, and you vomit, and you're like, wow, why did I just vomit? And but there's like a starving dog that just like eats all of it, and like it was exactly what that dog needed to sustain itself. And it's like, oh wow, that's so gross, but and that dog is so full now and happy, and you're clean, and wow. So what's needed just comes up, sometimes literally.
Yeah.
So with trust in oneself, um, who's the self, and who's the one trusting, and the the self that I'm referring to is the true self, is the God essence. And when I say trust in myself, it would be trusting in God. And a way to really bring that home is to trust in who I am. And when I trust in who I am, I actually do trust in God. And if I trust in me, and if I trust in Neal, I'm trusting my egoic identity, and I'm trusting all my brain and all the thoughts that are in there. But if I trust who I am, I trust God, and then also I can declare who I am in this physical experience. But I can declare who I am. But if I'm attached to being that which I declare, then I've entered the ego and I've entered the brain again. So I can declare who I am, but while doing that, it's essential for me to declare that. Um, and uh, so I'm going to actually go into the homework from last week because this ties directly into it, which is to pick a goal, ask questions that relate to that goal of being complete, and then from that, have an action step that you can take in the direction of that goal. And this goal can be like a like an outcome, like a direction, and you could have this goal be like an ideal self or an ideal version of you, like you at your highest potential, you at your healthiest self, or you at your highest capacity to communicate, or you at your highest capacity of presence. So were I to have that as being like, all right, so this is where this is who I choose to be in the world. And so I could communicate, well, I am the ultimate expression of presence in this life experience. And now I can ask questions that are, and this would be if I were to decide to embody this. Um, I can then start asking questions that point in the direction of being the ultimate expression of presence. And one simple one sounds like this, and it can be also used as an affirmation. And it sounds like, how am I being the ultimate expression of presence in my life experience, with a question mark. So how am I being? And that start of a question, you can add anything to that. You could add, how am I being abundance? How am I being wealth? How am I being health? How am I being authentic? How am I being present? How am I being grateful? And then as I'm asking these, your subconscious, your brain's coming up with answers to answer the questions that I'm asking. So you can use this on yourself. And so staying with I am the ultimate expression of presence. Um, am I to choose to create that? I can continue asking these questions. And one question might be like, well, what does presence look like? And I'm already getting some things of what presence looks like. So another question might be like, how would I respond if I were to be present? What is available if I'm the ultimate expression of presence? So now that I'm asking these questions, I'm receiving answers from my questions. And one example of what presence looks like, it looks like breathing. So it looks like taking a breath, not doing anything, just being and breathing. So to be the ultimate expression of presence in my life experience, one action step I can take is to consciously breathe. So let me ask another question. So how is it going to affect other people if I am the ultimate expression of presence in my life experience? Well, one way it can affect other people is that I can actually listen to other people. So it can affect other people by having other people be heard by me being present. So one action step, so this is now another action step I can take. So I can breathe. All right, number one. All right, another one is I can listen to people. So I can actually actively, consciously listen. And by being this, I am embodying being the expression of ultimate presence in my life experience. So are you starting to see we can have a goal, we can have an outcome, we can have I am this, or this is where I'm going. And then knowing where we're going and then asking questions to ourselves about that thing. And we can ask it to other people too. It's actually invaluable to ask other people questions because we might receive insight that we previously didn't have. But it's important to only ask people who already have achieved that, or people that we trust to give us content that actually would take us in the orientation. And then this is where discernment comes in, where when you have an orientation, when you have a goal, when you have a commitment, you can discern if something's taking you towards that commitment or if it's taking you away from it, and choose your actions, choose your thoughts based on if they're in alignment or if they're out of alignment. And sometimes that's not clear. And when that's not clear is the reason that we had this entire conversation this evening of how to discover, of how to be clear when you need to make a decision, but you don't know what decision to make. And this is dependent on where you're at on the journey. And this is also dependent on, are you listening to your ego or are you listening to God? And then this is also dependent on, is there still a mixture of both? Is there still a mixture of ego and God? And so knowing what to decide and when to decide it is a deeply intimate and personal discovery, is what I know to be so. And I'm willing and open to be wrong about this, but I don't often know things. So for me to say that I know that it's an intimate and personal journey of knowing when to decide and what to decide, I think it's intimate and connected with God the Father, which is why it brings, has it be personal. But then from going deeply personal, I think as we hone in our decision-making process, we go from it. So personal is also relative. So personal can be just your body, but then as your perception changes of who I am, you could also perceive all the other bodies of the collective as being part of your personal space because they are you. And as that vision expands, you can then see yourself from a greater perspective. And as you trust yourself, you'll trust other people. And as you know yourself, you'll know other people. And like, there was another thing that I was thinking was going to go in there, but it's not coming up right now. So the other thing I thought was going to go in there isn't going to go in there. And I guess I'm just going to talk about the thing that I thought was going to go there that isn't there, because what's available is me talking about the thing, but the thing not being there. And so trusting oneself, it's a process of, oh, I think I just discovered the thing. So trusting oneself, okay, so here's the thing. So initially you see yourself as just this one body, but as your perception of self changes, you see yourself as multiple bodies. So as you trust yourself, your perception of self changes. And also because your perception of self changes, your trust either decreases, and we choose this, or it increases. And it's going to increase because our perception is greater. But we can have a greater perception and have less trust also. And it's only based on what we're focused on. And if we have an expanded awareness and we're focused on God and knowing ourselves, we're going to have more trust. And if we have an expanded awareness and perception and we focus on our ego and our thoughts, we'll have a contracted connection, and we will have untrust in ourselves. So if we want to experience faith and trust, it starts with going within and clearly illuminating all of our egoic desires, all of our outcomes, all of the things that we think we're creating in our life, and laying them on the altar and burning them. This can be figurative or literal, but it involves illuminating the ego to a degree where you have illuminated it to the point where it's totally spotlighted, and all the outcomes and all the expectations that the ego had, you give to God, and you say, hey God, would you have this expectation, or would you have this outcome come into physicality? And then being okay no matter what the answer is. And once you've done that, in my experience, God has brought things into my life again that I gave up. And an example of this is cannabis. When I left Indiana, I completely gave it up. Like all I wanted was God. I stepped into level 3 at that point. I'd merged with everything, but I didn't have a sense of self really. And but I gave up cannabis, and then I come to Costa Rica, and then it showed up in my reality again. And God's like, well, because you gave it up, you really don't need it now. So if you want it, you can probably have it, but you don't need it. So whatever. And that's the thing. See, if we need the outcome, God won't really give it to us. He's going to say, well, you need it. Well, I'm going to give it to somebody who doesn't need it. So I think the degree that we can just let go of needing things and let go of our attachments and accept what's present and be grateful for what's present, we open ourselves to be that person who doesn't need anything, who can receive from the person who needs something. And with that, we're 5 minutes early. It's 5:55. We're not going to do homework this week, and we're not going to do homework because there's a essence inside of you, which is natural balance, which is your difference, which is your sole purpose here on earth. And your homework in the cosmic creation is to express your authentic self, is to express your difference, is to express your natural balance. So I don't think it's necessary for Neal or for Source or for anything coming through who I am to layer any additional homework onto the primary assignment of why you're already here. And with that, I love you. Thank you so much for being here. Good night.
Thank you, Neal.
You're welcome.
I love you.
I love you.